All right, let's bring in Andrew Brander, Conservative strategist, to give us his take. Hey, good to see you as always, Andrew. Your thoughts on what we're seeing here by the Conservatives?
Great politics from the leader of the opposition, Pierre, who's obviously very in tune with the pains that Canadians are feeling right now, and taking full advantage of an opportune time. Look, the House of Commons is only sitting for 1 week this entire month. And so he's got to make the most of this week while the House is sitting to make sure that he is making this issue as big as possible, because he knows Canadians are feeling the pinch. And at a time when we can project that, all the banks are kind of saying that inflation's gonna start to stabilize pretty soon, and people might be more adjusted to the pinch, but they're still feeling it really hard right now. He's only got 10 days before this increase comes into place, and we know once it's in place, Canadians kind of tend to sigh and accept it. So he's certainly leveraging the ramp up to that time. We've seen rallies with thousands of people in Toronto. We've seen rallies with thousands of people out east who are certainly feeling the pinch. I would expect Pierre not only to use this week in the House and his motion of non-confidence to continue to leverage that, but I assume he's going to be spending every last second before the carbon tax goes up, and probably for a few weeks after, talking about this issue.
Nobody likes a tax, that's for sure. I'm just curious why you think the government wouldn't hit the pause button on the carbon tax, at least for now, sort of recognizing, as you rightly point out, that times are tough economically for a lot of Canadians, and the last thing people want is additional taxes.
I think the second they open the door to any more carve-outs, they really negate their whole argument around the carbon tax, which is that climate change doesn't take a break, and therefore the tax must continue and needs to be continued to be paid in. I do think that the Liberals should start looking at the economic realities of the day and provide perhaps some other solutions to Canadians to provide a bit of relief if they're going to continue to be so dogmatic in their approach on carbon pricing. And we've seen last time when the Atlantic Caucus for the Liberals were able to achieve a little bit of a carve out for the cost of home heating oil, how much. How many problems that created for the Liberal caucus in terms of management, sort of some off the leash comments from the environment minister. The prime minister's got a lot to balance, not to exclude, obviously, the consideration of the NDP's continued confidence in this government through the form of that agreement you talked about, Todd, the supply and confidence agreement. So any kind of change to the carbon tax could certainly put that in jeopardy, considering how supportive the NDP are of the carbon tax as well.
Yeah, what do you think the NDP is going to do here? Because really it lies with them again.
Well, of course, they're going to continue to support the government. That's going to be the reason why this motion does not pass. Regardless of if Canadians themselves have lost confidence in the Prime Minister, which, if you're looking at any of the recent polls, many of them would suggest that they have. But ultimately, this is politics. It's in the motion itself. If you read Pierre's motion to the House, he calls for a motion of non-confidence. And asks that Canadians are brought the question in the form of a carbon tax election, despite whether the motion passes this week or not, which it will not. The next election is going to be about the carbon tax anyways. We're going to have a carbon tax election, whether it's next week or in the next 2 years.
Andrew Brander joining us from Toronto, Conservative strategist, with his take on this showdown going on in the House of Commons in the next couple of days. Good to see you as always, Andrew. Thanks for taking time for CTV News.
Thanks, Todd.